Hi, and welcome to the Darkness of the Leafy Field 2 Director's Commentary. We begin the film as confusing as it'll actually end, with Johnny going into a university to attack a load of people that have been picking on him, mostly chavs. Well, I originally intended to have a meteorite crash and Caroline discover it, that's how she got the virus, maybe some of the picking on. But this was shot with 3 weeks before term ended, and I mean, Johnny left halfway through. It was a bit hard to really get a complete film. Originally it was a 5-minute idea, and out much longer. Now the idea was how much gore could we get away with in halls, and it wasn't really how much could we get away with as much as how much could we possibly use on our budget, which was incredibly small. What we'd been loaned and hadn't spent on munch or drugs. Anyway, we have Johnny wandering around. Here's John from down the hall. John was a strange character. He used to stand around with a lot of men in his pants. I'm sure there's more to that. He wanted to be in the film. There was a lot of other people like Yev, the strange foreigner with the smelly feet that smelt like a corpse, and there was Cole, a good friend of mine who lived next door until I showed Aftermath to a group of people. He never actually spoke to me again after that. So we've had our first castration, given the idea that this is going to be a bit of a gory film. We've got the first of the, I called it Johnny Vision, the alien vision of anyone who's got the virus or from another world. Not that that's really made clear. This was Caroline's first time to get blood on her. I think we'd only been dating a couple of weeks really before I decided to lie her on the floor, cover her in latex and flood her with blood. I think she was a bit shocked by the cold. But I think after anyone involved enjoyed all the splattery fun. When we finished this shoot, the next day we got a knock on the door in the morning from the cleaners, and we could hear them talking, and they were like, "What are all these red specks? Who the fuck's done this?" And they were obviously really pissed off. Because they only came around every 2 weeks with a hoover, I used to go down regularly. I couldn't wait 2 weeks. I used to just take the hoover and go off clean my own room. And because of that, they obviously thought I was a cleanly and good child. So yeah, one of them actually said, "No, don't wake him. You know, it's fine. It's, you know, it won't be him." Of course, we had knives hanging up, bloody shirts. Here we meet Basil and Nick. Nick, I got to play a small boy because he was, I don't know, he's such an innocent character. He's an innocent person when I met him. Basil, Kieran knew, and we met during a Vox Pops, and he was doing his gangster voice. This gangster voice that he had was just him. When we met him, that's just how he talked to me. That's how he kept on talking to me. And I was like, you have to be the star of my film. Now we have Caroline's head getting popped off. I'd always wanted to do some head exploding effects. I also did some tests for D3 that never made it in. There's another one later in the film. I think this is where Caroline drew the line. It's a lot of blood pouring down her back. Of course, now me and Johnny get to fight. I think Johnny was the most up for this, just like everyone was in Darkness 3, but I think people were a bit more reserved to be as stupid as quickly and to get their knees dirty and to get as much blood on them. I mean, he threw himself into bushes and all sorts for this film. You know, respect to Johnny. Fortunately for the last day of shoot, where I really had scripted very little for him, yes, there was a script. He decided to have 3 bottles of wine and was too fat. You'll see it in the Mission Impossible. Now, a little bit about this new cut quickly, which is sourced from 4 different VHS tapes. None of them were completely unscored, but there's varying quality. I just had to do a new cut after watching all the Raw and seeing how good that looked in comparison to the terrible edits that I did. Shoved all 4 onto one disc, should anyone bother to watch them. If anything, just do so, just to go, fuck me, this looks horrible. This is John from downstairs. I loved John. He was a lovely fella. When I first met him, he didn't quite know how to take Cole because he'd just come from a community that just didn't have black people. And I had to explain that, you know, black or white, there are dicks and there are kind people, and Cole's a fucking dude. Luckily he got to be in this film. I wish he'd been in it more. He wasn't around as much as one of our group, but he so wanted to do something just small and martial arts, so I let him do a little bit of bapping, and this is the leg stabbing, which I loved. But on the day we did this, it was a weekend, and a parent had come to see an Indian girl, if I remember rightly. She was walking upstairs with him, and they walked up, and Johnny literally had the knife in the leg, blood all over the floor. He looked so disappointed, so unimpressed. Anyway, now I have to edit this bit because Johnny couldn't quite jump out of a window as quickly. I doubt I could now. Some in-camera effects. Time to see what. This is Tom's camera. Of course, we had to borrow a camera to shoot this entire film because I didn't have my own. It was in-camera edited originally. You can see the original cut, and it's almost an hour long, which is quite painful. Some eye gouging. Obviously, the blood's coming from the wrong place there, but I do love that shot. Johnny really seemed to love the idea of his eyes getting gouged out. More just some stupid little humour and any excuse to get some more blood on my face. I think we have the electricity effect coming up. This is something that I've tried doing many times. I've still got to fall down a bank and pop. But as Johnny leaves, he's covered in electricity, showing he's got the virus. And it was an effect I tried to do so many different times and ways. And unfortunately, I've just upgraded to Premiere 6 and haven't actually got plugins in HD to do as much as I did. So we're kind of trapped with a kind of old school free lightning effect. Okay, back to Basil and Nick. This is of course just a story of obviously something that's happened before. Now I decided to keep the paedophilia jokes, which I think were frowned on by a lot of people, but I didn't think it was too much of a problem, seeing as all his children are actually adults. Nick may look a bit younger, but he is an adult. He's starting to look a bit more mature by Darkness 3. Now we get a bit more abuse. I love the shot of him just punching Nick in the face. That really does seem to amuse a lot of people, at least for a second if they've woken up by this point again. Now a little bit more into the fact that he's a druggie, just the subtlety of having just the belt tied around his arm, holding a knife, showing his gangster roots. And now we can continue with the story, which seems to also take place at the same time. It's a bit like Company of Wolves in that respect, far less impressively. So now we get the first of our lengthy walking scenes. This is Caroline. Believe it or not, a lot has been chopped. I've gone back to some original shots that weren't used in any of the newer edits, because I actually preferred some of the shots. But her clothes do completely change, but I thought that's such a usual occurrence in the Darkness films that no one would probably notice or care. Being only a home movie, why really give a shit? So we get Johnny watching her, Johnny Vision. Johnny's watching her wander by, having a sly cigarette. This was this little kind of broken down building shack that was right beside the uni. We had a graveyard, which we shot a little bit at, obviously. And this part, which I really did have Caroline wandering through a lot of deserted houses and a lot of night vision stuff for me and Johnny, but it was never used. So the music slows, it's getting creepy, and now we get to reveal the next fight sequence, or is it the first fight sequence, which is Johnny versus Caroline. I love it, the beats kick in as we see Johnny, obviously an ominous character, obviously the antagonist of this, some slow motion cool walking. And we recently bought a meat cleaver and realised it was very sharp, so if anything that was just going to help how to kill Caroline. Not that she gets killed. Now if you watch Johnny's face in most of these shots, there is quite a little grin on his face. He's obviously loving doing this. I've done some slow motion gore because I just thought it looked a little bit better than normal speed. I remember trying to get that shot to work so often, all the little bits spraying out just being a bonus when we did it on the end. These lots of different shots from different sources here to actually get Caroline to walk up and kick him in the balls. That was an annoying part. Now Caroline's time. I love her just chilled out walk, even when she's going to kill somebody, just ambling along. Now it's time for revenge. Fuck you, did to my arms, I'll do to yours. I think she does quite a bit of damage to them. I think they were already used bottles that don't seem to be bleeding too well. So, sorry Johnny. There's a couple of moments, that's a good moment. Wander off. Now the very hard to find shot of Johnny actually just saying bitch without music over it and making it inaudible. And the only time you'll hear his voice in this entire film. I love the crackhead scene. Obviously South Park influenced. I was just loving sitting around calling everyone a crackhead with my very mature humour that I have. First time we get to see Basil really being gangster, doing his back alley drug deals. And now my embarrassing moment of, hey man, you want to get high? You want to buy some drugs? You want to get a little left in the brain? Joe McCabe is obviously the drug dealer here. He lived near Kieran and Basil. He was an absolute legend laugh. He was well up for being a crackhead. I loved how he played it. but he really did play it spot on of how I wanted it. Now for some Under the Voyage style punching and knocking out. I love those old shows that I used to watch on Sunday afternoons where you could either see them hit their own hand or they're a good metre away. Now another bit of walking, not as lengthy, and if anyone knows where this music is from, I've tried Get Shorty, tried loads of gangster soundtracks and Ocean's 11. I've absolutely no idea where this music came from in the first place. I've done Soprano soundtracks, all three of them. But it fits it so perfectly. Luckily this music was left intact on one of the earlier cuts and I could just lift it straight off and onto this one. This is obviously the Soprano shot of the feet moving, although some of you might think it's a homage to the bill. A lot of people seem to think I timed that and asked that guy to kick that football. That's just coincidence. And we're coming up to our first of our little moments where he comes out of his gangster. I want to give him a bit more. I mean, he's a gangster that's a paedophile that's also really into 80s music. So here we have some Michael Jackson dancing, and on he struts. Now this is where the story's going to begin interlinking with earlier occurrences. And Johnny's already sat there. Caroline sent him, so he's gone to find Nick, the other brother. Basil just seems to sit down, not care that there's a stranger in the room. I love his whiny, why can't you help me? Johnny refused to have his voice let in the film, so I had to dub him. He hated it, his fucking knob is how he described his own voice. And I thought Johnny sounded cool. I loved listening to him rant on about films. But he refused, he wouldn't speak if the camera was rolling, so what else could I do? So, but I've got to admit, the dubbing does work out well. And the lick my balls is always been a quite quotable line after the film. I love the shot of Nick just hugging Basil's knees. Nick played this brilliantly. Basil played it even better. I mean, I think he broke into a smile twice during the whole thing. How straight he could keep his face for what was going on around him. Now for superpowers, he can close the curtains, he can turn off a light, and of course the soundtrack's been playing has merely just been what he's been nodding his head to. But that's not going to end because Basil needs a bit more music. I just thought, how can this scene end? I just thought Basil robot dancing is the perfect way to go. And another skill that I didn't know Basil had, I mean, gangster voice, doing 80s dancing, he's good at moonwalking, something that we only brought into Darkness 3, but we should have really included here. And now, you know, he is aware that his children are around, just doesn't give a shit. Some shots that I'd never used before of Nick actually being dragged out and down the stairs. Johnny just almost burning and setting fire to Nick by putting a cigarette into him. Nick being dragged out. I'm actually doing a Total Recall and just telling you what's going on now. Nick gets dragged outside. I'm not sure what anyone was thinking when watching Nick getting dragged outside. We're going to get some more amazing dubbing and some clipped words that I couldn't seem to find anywhere. I'm not sure Nick's voice would be the same really to redo them now. And this is where, you can hear Hanson in the background because I think Basil or Caroline, someone's got back into listening to it. So we get to my Mission Impossible. One of those things that you create in your mind and hope turns out. And unfortunately, cue Johnny being fucking drunk. I mean, that's why his head is hung low. Now, all he had to do is look like he was rope climbing. Don't know what he was doing. This is where Johnny almost cracks his head twice. Even running, he looks fucked. Nick just doing it was supposed to just be the contrast of Nick just calmly walks a simple path, while Johnny, who's now played by me, because Johnny has got too drunk, passed out and flown back to Ireland, and I make this route far more complicated than it has to be, while Nick struts along. And he has a cool little strut that works for the soundtrack. If I remember rightly, it was this scene where Nick told me try doing some rolls, some jumps over it. We would just kind of keep it interesting at this point. I kind of run out of ideas myself. So here we have how to get away with the fact that I am now playing Johnny, is to have a massive name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Johnny." One of the first lengthiest jokes coming up where we have to sit here and wait for the joke to end. I think I clipped these down in later cuts, but seeing as this is a final cut, I just wanted it to have the pace that I originally intended, and some bits are slow. Now some top acting from Nick and Caroline. No, I don't want to rule the world, not with you. And some childish humour as she tells him to sit in the corner. I just like mixing the gore and innocence together. I think that, and we make a cute home movie. We can't act brilliantly, so why not do stupider moments? I think you can get away with them a lot more. And now it's time to introduce us to Tom Greenwood. Tom, who lived with me in the third year, and at the very last day just went, "Yeah, you'll probably never talk to me again," and he's been right in that so far. He was well up for being in Darkness 2. We were using his camera. He shot Johnny vs. Chris. He was, we met him. He wasn't into gore. He got scared watching Gremlins, and he used to watch You've Got Mail almost every night. He loved his cigars, but didn't smoke. He had one every time he completed an essay. Tom just refused to come back for Darkness 3. Flat out. He lived in the same house and he wouldn't come down. I only wanted him for one scene where we try and get him out of retirement. You get the dramatic shot slowly going up to his face as he ponders it, and he just goes, "Nah," and closes the door. But he just, but Tom would not be in it. Would not be shifted on that. At least, Anyway, now we get to Tom turning a bit more into Michael Jackson 80s, and he just gets dressed, which few people have just gone, he's dressed now. Don't seem to see it as a joke. A bit more of his cool cigar. I thought he did actually look really cool in his shades wandering around the hall, and I love the fact that where he got called to was literally a door away from him. Which one of you ugly bitches is Robin? Absolutely flawlessly done by Tom. I thought he was brilliant and couldn't believe he hated watching himself. Refused to come back. Now a bit more, we've had paedophilia. Let's bring in some incest jokes with Robin getting a bit shocked by that accusation. Again, the only audience of this are people who know us, and they still seem to go, it's disgusting. But none of us are related, so fuck it. Now we meet Stu, who we didn't have a lab coat from, looked a little bit young, refused to turn his radio off in the background so the noise just jumps around. So I had him playing a young scientist. I like it in films where they just scribble something quickly, and that's apparently supposed to convey to us that that's the plan, it's done. So I just did it where he doesn't say anything, just literally scribble something on the wall. Now we have, now begins Johnny versus Nick. This was originally where Johnny was supposed to be stop-start animated and moving around, but it just proved so lengthy, we just cut it and skipped it. I'd really wanted Nick to be in a good gory scene. I'd done anything just to, I thought he loved these passionate gore films and it's so fun, he should be part of it. So I told him he was coming down, he was going to get killed, and I thought to everyone who knew that meant bring some spare clothes or etc. And he wore some really nice designer stuff he refused to get any blood on. So this scene becomes a little bit... We had to do the old blood splat on the wall, which in a way I kind of like because it's a homage to all those old films, but it wasn't how I originally intended it. It was just going to be, tubes attached to the bat and smacking Nick around as much as possible. It's what Johnny versus Nick essentially was in practice for. Now some just walking through walls, just shows virus. It hasn't been explained. I know the virus hasn't been explained. Now this is the graveyard I mentioned earlier. Just above, just a 5-minute walk. It was just at the top of the hill and a lovely place to go and smoke, just hang out at night. Now we're going to be another lengthy walking scene. This is Basil and another lengthy walking scene. This time I love the Sopranos opening Woke Up This Morning theme. I absolutely adore it. Now, half these locations were actually used during The Shining and a few other films by Kubrick. I wanted to incorporate some of them. I've got to admit, after hearing he shot so much in Uxbridge, I can see why there's some gorgeous shots. Boring for some, but as a filmmaker, I just wanted some slick shots, do some gangster homages, and there is a lot of gangsters walking around being cool at the time. It was my part. Although this is clipped down of a lot of stuff that originally could have been used. See the horrible 48-minute version for that. There's my lighter. So now we have Basil running away. We absolutely pegged. I've got to admit, the guy absolutely stealthed. This guy absolutely knew how to run like Greek buggery. He was fucking fast. And well up for running. I did make him run a lot and continuously. And there's really no reason for any of this running, not that it's resolved. Just more gets the scene pulping and just prepares you for one joke at the end, which has gone down well. Now this is a car park that poor Basil, he has to run around this car park, jump all the barriers, go down. So many different takes, so many different shots, and, you know, it's only there for seconds. And now he just slinks straight back into just walking calmly. The original music kicks back in. I love the over-the-shoulder shots of Basil, and he really got that just slick walking look. I don't know, I could have just followed him around all day with a fucking camera. I would have been like Peter Jackson up in a helicopter over the hills, just going, "Run, you little bastards!" This is where we just saw the bouncy castle, him passing some kids, just the best shot before we go to, I hate kids, but I also love them. So back to the graveyard, and time for Basil to meet a policeman. I thought, how would that be? Because obviously one's helping him about the lost children. Don't know how they know, but they do know. Police always seem involved. And him obviously thinking he's some drug contact, and telling him, you know, the gangsters won't accept. You know, it's like, won't accept help from won't accept help from the police, and want to do stuff their way, their gangster way. Shotgun, walking around, find who did it, Taken style. I'm sorry, I am drinking during this, it does help. Now we have Robin coming in to kick the shit out of Johnny. Johnny had one request during this film, which is, could he please have the shit beaten out of him? Now, I met Robin, probably through drama, or maybe a friend through Tom. Probably through Tom. I can't remember how I met Robin. Robin was... I could butter Robin on toast, and he is absolutely love him, a thorough, genuine guy. But he knew so many different types of martial arts. He was a skilled actor. I mean, he, you know, worked in... Oh God, that's going to insult you, Robin. Was it London Dungeon, where you were waxwork, or Madame Tussauds? Anyway, he was one of those people who pretend to freeze and then just jumped and scared the shit out of people. He's got his own kind of theatre production company now. He was really a cut above everyone else we had. And when I found out he could do these martial arts, I obviously went, you're the guy to kick the living shit out of Johnny. I don't think I found out that Carl was any good at martial arts yet, or that Basil had his hidden talent. I mean, that was still to come. I mean, any fights that I've ever done before this were very amateur. I think in Darkness 3 I was a lot more prepared. But here, and it's the first proper fight scene I've ever tried to shoot, and it shines amateurness, but I'm still loving loving doing it. Now, if you listen carefully to the sound effects in the background, they are actually taken from the old Amiga version of Mortal Kombat. Were the only sound effects available to me when I first did this, before really torrenting and downloading and sound libraries and whatnot. Not that I've really can be asked to sift through them. Sound's something that really annoys me. And I've been probably the laziest edit I've done regarding sound is any of the Darkness 2s. There's just so much that needs work, and it really does need some good punch effects, and I really don't have any that do it justice. But I like the original sound effects in the background, so I kept them on. And Less Than Jake was just saying that Johnny was a massive fan of. Again, some dubbing. Johnny didn't want to speak, and I just thought this is going to be a homage to old Hong Kong style fights, so we're going to do the bad dubbing and let Robin dub his own voice. Alright, back to Basil walking around. I know no one wanted it, but I thought if I throw in a few jokes, so we've got Joe going, you don't want to buy crack, you know, you don't have to buy crack, and a long shot, plus, I mean, this shot was just a lot of people turning around looking at the camera, because it was raining, I had a coat over my head, I was crouched down, I think there was someone next to me, maybe Nick, so everyone didn't know what the fuck we were doing. And it's just also a few shots that just, you know, although they might bore you, might remind you of places you used to go, walk, see every day of Brunel University, because most of the audience are just people who were there with us. Now, Tom requested this shot himself. It's a homage to Clockwork Orange, where Alex walks into the prison. I wish we'd had a wider angle lens, because it's a bit further taken back, but Tom was really happy to have it in there. This shot I put in purely for Steph. It was just a bit of graph. I think that I like the music change. You see Buzz Lightyear, but I really wanted to show Steph, because I didn't have his number, but I knew that I'd see him again, let alone live with him for the next 4 years. But now we're back to Joe McCabe. It's time to finally end this stupid crack subplot that's been going on. So he asked one last time, you gonna buy some crack? That's him looking terrified. I like scratch your chin a bit. Does it twice. I thought I'd keep the whole shot. This is where Basil makes 2 shotguns, 1 shotgun. I forgot we even had 2 shotguns for a shot. In every film he either broke one or threw one in a river. He just seemed to have a habit of it. We haven't got much footage, but some is in the outtakes of him throwing it in. Now back to Joe's famous head crushing scene, where it's time to finish off this crackhead, and what's the best way? I thought I've always wanted to do a head running over. I don't drive, none of my friends drove, so now at uni, Matt did. Out of all people to have a licence, Matt did. We just stuck a big balloon. We did it a weekend, and a lot of people drove by looking. Small kids saw it. We felt kind of awful. We had security come down and talk to us. They seemed quite angry until I explained I was a film student, and they seemed okay with it and just left. So we just got on with it. We had to hide the weaponry, of course, when they came. So now we have Matt's amazing acting. Matt. A bit of a simple kid we lived with third year. He's a longer story. Anyway, Matt was terrible at acting. I just the way he watched and reacted to situations. I kept the shots in a little bit longer just because they are funnier just seeing. He actually makes everyone else look quite good in comparison. Now, I've been doing people getting shot and blown up for many years, and most people, when I shoot them in a film, they know just to throw themselves to the floor. That's about it, but not Matt. He went for the very, very dramatic, oh no, I die, oh, it's so painful. It's brilliant. I didn't make him redo it. Now some shit happens. Basil's just going to wander off. Oh god, I'm still passed out from where you left me at the beginning of the film, so I can come round. It's just a bit of a chill, relaxed moment where you do some walking. Not many of these in this film, it just kind of keeps going. Now for some, I get my own dialogue, just what the bitch-ass cunt that beat the fuck out of me. So, which Basil quoted at me for quite a long time afterwards. Now for our homage to Spider-Man. We watched it the night before. Kieran had made us watch something shit before it, so, but finally everyone... We bought Spider-Man on VCD. It was really good for only being on a CD, the quality. Kieran had asked to watch something else he wanted to see more, and half the audience who wanted to see Spider-Man had left, but for those most dedicated who stuck around, we loved it. But I love the way he just crawled around on all fours up buildings, so that was my little homage. I wanted to get in Mortal Kombat because I actually really like the Mortal Kombat films, even the TV series. I can't help it. Grow up on the games, think the films are good fun. They're shit, but they're fun. And I wanted to get a fight in, and Basil seemed the right guy because he suddenly just turned around and was like, I do this martial arts. I don't have any training, but I've copied almost every film I've watched by going out in the garden or just doing it in front of the TV. And he showed me some of his high kicks and spin kicks, and they're fucking amazing. So I thought, we'll let Basil have a fight. He can kick the living shit out of me. Because I don't know how to fight. Shows heavily in this film. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a very good lover. I'm not quite sure what I fall under there. I just wanted to have some slick little moments, so some slow mo here and there. And now for I had an idea for an effect and just thought, how can it go? And Basil's amazing kick just sends it flying. I love the losing my leg shot. I love the losing my leg shot. Now he just squeezes my arm out, probably a bit pointless. Does throw my legs back. Of course my legs back. I've never done anyone keeping their limbs off in any of my films. I tried to give an excuse with regenerative alien powers, but really I just couldn't give two shits and want to get on to the next gore scene. So a tripod. I haven't noticed that as much as I probably should have in the background of half these shots. Now some more Iron Palm. Crouching Tiger kind of stuff from Basil. Loved his Hong Kong 70s films. Adored them. That shot should have been recoloured. Anyway, now we throw down. I just really wanted to do a thumbs up Mortal Kombat scene. Hasn't quite turned out exactly how I wanted it, but I'm still quite proud. It was a good ending to... sometimes it's how to round a scene off when it hasn't made the most sense or really been the best flow. It's now a long shot, a little bit of dialogue to actually give some plot exposition. It's about a virus, apparently. Not just kidnapping weirdness and stuff that doesn't make sense. I think we got this idea for the joke of swapping glasses was going to be really, really funny. So from now on, yep, I'm in Basil's sunglasses. I need to exit because I need a camera because Caroline's filming this and she's in the next shot. So off I fuck and in she comes. A bit more of a smart, just get the dirty, I like the look of my own daughter smile there from Basil. I did some slowed down growls. I think in the original cuts you can hear the normal growls. They're they're probably more amusing. I just think they fit a little bit better with a little. I don't think they're creepy. I just think they sound a bit cooler. Now, just to come completely out of our film, break down all the walls, and just have our camera get nicked and Basil chase him. And who else? It's a black man, a thieving black man. Now, I love this because I loved how in films really were very racist. The Leroy Brown in Crocodile Dundee 2 trying to go against typecast of obviously how they were portrayed. And Carl was well up for half my jokes, which, in retrospect, some of them are probably a bit far or a bit too close to the bone in offence of what they're actually supposed to be mirroring. They're actually more portraying. But he was well up. I'm glad Carl was such a good sport for all of it. But I haven't had any complaints about those moments from anyone, not unlike some of the other moments in the films. Now, I don't know why Caroline pops up or I break her arm, but the shot, it doesn't really work if I take it out because we've got shots of us running away with Basil. Now we kick into an old, I love this tune, it's Rico, a small one-off album that's this guy did. One of the tracks was free on the front of Metal Hammer. I wish the audio for that bastard could have been better. I played with it for a long time. Now, Basil and Carl are both quite good at their high jump spin kicks. They're both very fast. Robin's more a kind of wrestling throws judo kind of guy, and I think that these two complement each other really well in beating the living crap out of each other. I wanted to get as many originally there's some zooms and stuff to get the more Hong Kong style, but I've taken most of them out because it was more just about quick cutting and some frantic looking hits. This is Carl's idea to have fuck this when he does his iron palm, which Basil obviously wanted to do again. My iron palm. Carl's like, well, fuck this. I've got my own stance. Genius. I wish I had done a moment where he grabbed the top of Basil's head and quickly hit it with his hand like pecking. But when you're filming on thing, they're choreographing, I'm doing shots. There's a lot going on already, and there's always going to be looking back and wishing I'd done things. So we round off the fight with some lengthy, and I just let them get on with it at this point. Fuck it. And Carl backflips, some very slow mo. Get ready for some. And now Basil slowly walks up, music slows down, and I wanted to blow both his arms off, but you'll see in the outtakes, it took a lot just to get one arm off, so I just run in and kick the other one off. Fuck it. I can't be arsed. I'm like, how do we get back? So we just do Basil doing some press-ups and just saying, now let's go back to the story, because he's the narrator from the beginning pretty much when he's telling Nick the story. I think that is a savage hit. I think that looks so savage. Tom decidedly walking up. Now, we obviously wanted to kill Johnny off, but Johnny had fucked off back to Ireland for his holidays. So, he just gets talked out. Caroline gets knocked out. Apparently that's her taken care of. I come in from having my piss. And, it's just kind of a laid-back, easy dialogue situation, looking around, seeing what's going on. What did I miss? There's some unconscious people. I didn't even ask about the cop there. I just enjoyed the unconscious lady. So Nick returns. Obviously, Dad couldn't give a shit. Johnny's dead. Tom's explained it all. And pretty much that's it for Darkness of the Leafy Field 2. I have to leave it open in case we ever make a sequel. That was just standard. I didn't actually think we'd make a sequel. I'm fucking glad we did and wish we could have made more. Wish we all still live close enough to do it. But the crap old lightning effect, I layered that in from an old shot because I haven't got that effect anymore. I hope it's not too obvious. I've redone the credits, and of course, if you hold out till the end of them, you'll get to see the trailer for Darkness 3, which is basically how I got everyone on board for Darkness 3, was showing them that one trailer. I think the trailer's a lot slicker, cooler, effects-filled than the entire film. I think everyone expected a very different experience, but I just get lost writing as much comedy and how much can I get away with making my friends do. I mean, this one was shot with them knowing what was going on, and Darkness 3 I had every intention of no one knowing what the fuck they were talking about, what they were doing, how the scenes interlinked, any of the plot, until the film was finished, which was very hard to accomplish. I had to kind of keep it in my head and string it together. So these were just all the shots that I shot digitally. After Darkness 2, I instantly got a computer, instantly bought a digital camera, and this was basically all the shit that we'd slopped together. And when I moved into the Hayes house, I kind of slopped together this for fun. I'm still very proud of this. So thank you for watching Darkness of the Leafy-Field 2. Thanks for listening to me rant on. I probably haven't mentioned half the things I should have and talked a load of crap, but thank you all for being in it. I miss all you guys, and these really are my favourite memories of my life. I'm not sure if they're B-tops. Getting to make a film with your friends and explore ideas and have a laugh that spans months. Brilliant.